Here's the surface, which we need to reduce, and we need a line to which to reduce it. So again, we're back to our marking gauge here, and we draw a line from the back here. So there's my line there. I'll just make that clearer for you. Okay. This is about 1/3 to 2/3, something like that. So I'm coming back down to about 1/3 of what's left. Better to make it too fat than too thin, because we can always take more wood off. So something like that. So we've got it on the outside of the frame. We also need to have it on the inside. So again, making sure it's from the back, we run the same, exactly the same on the inside, like so. And we can see that here. And that's going to go all the way around. And where you find it difficult to get that marking gauge in from the back or from the front, you can use a little jig like this. So that's a sharpened nail, and it's exactly the same distance as the marking gauge. That's important. Then that'll fit in here in these little marks here. So you can make something like that to get in, and that's quite important. We have these two lines now on either side, and our job now is to remove this wood down to what will be a new background, a new surface for the frame. A good idea before we actually start removing this wood is to draw a little buffer zone around the bits of the carving that you want to be sure you don't remove. Yeah, so we're removing around here, leaving this bit here. Now you could see this as an ordinary relief carving, in which case this is a background. We would go, round here with our V-tool lining in and so on, and then we would be removing our background like this across, and we'll certainly be doing that. And then we lower it off, so it, just as before, we come all the way down. But with a big area like this, for example here, this whole side here, a quicker way would be to make some cuts along here with the saw. I've got quite a big saw here, but I'm actually only going to be using the end, and I'm going to make a cuts across like this. So just using this bit here. And I'm going to stop perhaps 6 millimeters, a 1/4 inch above, like that. And that's gone the same on each side, so that's quite square. Then a second one. To the same depth. Now, depending on whether the wood is even grain or not, you can space those out differently. If this is about 14 mil, half an inch perhaps, it could be as much as an inch. But work your way along, all the way along, making these saw cuts. Seems a lot of work, but it's a lot less work, believe it or not, than, as you'll see, than making these cuts. We're not going to go around here, just this nice plain long edge across here. Here it is after all the saw work. Quite a bit of work, but you'll see that it's worth it in the long run. Let me just say exactly what we're doing here. We are cutting the grain into short length. The grain, meaning the fibres of the wood, like the pencil, is going in this direction. So I'm chopping that off, taking control over it. So when I come up to the top here, I can't just cut in the same square way. I've got to cut diagonally, so I'm cutting across these fibres. So that's what's happening here. And sometimes they've overlapped my saw cuts, and I've been able to get a saw right in there like that across there. Although I've gone on to the red here, I'm still well within my stamen here, so I've kept an eye on that. I've come around here, and some parts, like down the bottom here, I've not been able to do, but sometimes I'd be able to take some nice big cuts across grain. So that's breaking up the length of the fibres. And again, I've gone down to that depth, 1/4 inch below, above the finished surface, 6mm, and kept checking on the inside. So there's an area down there I haven't been able to do. That's okay, you do as much as we can. It'll save us a lot of time, as you'll see in a moment, when the fun begins. What I'm going to do now is take a flat gouge or chisel and knock off these short grained pieces of wood. It doesn't matter where we start. You see how quickly that comes off. I've worked my way around and you can see that there's a big chunk of wood removed. So now what we're going to do is take this wood back down to the our finished baseline here, and that is again very much like we would do for a relief carving. We lower it, we can use a deep gouge like this. Right, so you can see, hope you can see that I've stopped just above the finish line here to dress it, and I've stopped short on the other side because if I just push this, this will burst out. So I will need to come from that side, but I can come perhaps 3/4 of the way across. So I'm going to work my way along this side like this. If I want to, I can get a slightly a more middle gouge and just press that carefully. So I probably go as far as this on one side, but all the way along. And then when I've got down to that edge here, or just above it, I get my flat gouge and finish off. But first I'm going to go back and work all my way around with this deeper gouge. But it's essentially, I hope you can see that this is nothing less than a relief carving to a background. I've come across here and I've come across this way and I've joined the two together, working my way along here. And you should, if you check it, you should find that this is square across. Your grooves want to be aiming across like this as best as possible. Now when you come to here or somewhere like that, you can't get this tool in, but what you can do is you do a cut that's got a little twist like this. So as you come to the edge here, you rotate the tool. It's called rocking the tool through the cut. That's the technical word for it. So as you come to the edge, this fine edge, instead of bursting out, the tool just comes out gently, slicing the fibres. So at some points you might have to do that, and so on. You can see here that I've run just straight across, and I've got more wood to take away here, but this is getting in the way. So I can start taking some of that away, literally just cutting this back. Okay, now here's the important thing here. This line here, which is the edge of the petal, is the same in effect as this line here. So in the way that we've snuck up on it down here, we need to sneak up on that line and stop short just before it. So as we get near there, okay, this will approach that line, and I've got to come in this way here. Take a bit off like this. What I don't want to do is stab it into the background, because this might be undercut, I'm not quite sure yet. So take some of that away, and I can even dress that up a little better here. So this is a bit of a rough setting in still, a bit like over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is start leveling this background off, and I keep emphasizing the way we're working is that this is a frame but is a background to a relief carving. So if we think of it like that, it's the same as a lot of projects on the site, they're just basic relief carving. So I start finishing off this surface, cross the grain slicing cuts up to the edge, exactly as the same we did on the inside. And then I'm going to come down here, but what I want to do is leave a little bit of mess here in the corner. So either I can take just for the moment, just a rough gouge like this, remove some of that, yeah, or I could use a V-tool. But all I'm saying is that here's the background coming up, and depending on how the grain runs, I might be a bit more in this direction or that direction. Coming up to the line again. Take a little bit over here, not too much, not down to the background. So for now, see that will do, that's nice and safe. We're pushing into it like this. I'm going to carry on working this surface all the way around, and wherever I can I'll just remove some of the waste from this lump, or whatever lumps I find as I go along. that's what these junctions should look like. The background coming in square on the line, like that. And of course that line continues across. This wall just short of the line coming down, so not undercut, if anything leaning out a little bit, but better still straight down. And then you're left with this corner here, this mess here, which will all be dealt with later and protects us from stabbing in. So clear a little bit of that out with a deep gouge if you want, but that will all be dealt with later. So you have a sense now that this is running through all the way across. So when you've worked your way around, that's the end of the stage where the frame is set against a blank relief of the iris. What I like at this stage is how the blank here pops out from the background. You've got a feeling of space is going on, and this frame being set back pulls this forward. So this will be a nice big relief carving. And of course it'll go down behind the edge of the frame. So this is the stage we need to get it to before we actually start the carving proper. And as you can see, there's probably at least half the wood has been removed already.